Hey, what's up, everybody? You are tuned into another episode of Fatherhood is Dope, the podcast. I am your host, Aaron McGee, man, and let me just tell you how elated I am that you decided to click back on another link, another tab, depending on where you're listening to the show on, man. But I'm really appreciative that you decided to join us again, and per usual, I have another amazing father with us. And I'm looking forward to getting into this conversation. Now, for those of you all who are listening on Stitcher, Apple, Google, Anchor, Spotify, do know that this podcast is available in video format on YouTube. And I keep telling y'all that I need you all to help us build that YouTube platform up. So we're going to be recording as many podcasts as possible on video as well, so you can check out the guests and just see what we have to offer from the YouTube perspective. So we want to build some things up on YouTube, right? All right, but without further ado, let me get to today's guest, and it's my friend Emanuel Roland, aka just Rollin from Rollin's Photography, man. How you doing this morning? It's morning. We're doing this recording. How you doing?
Man, doing well.
Doing good.
Glad to be here.
Yeah. He said he's glad to be here, man. I'm excited that you're here, man. First of all, I'm excited that you said yes, per usual. I'm always excited when a father that I admire agrees to come on and do this interview and have the conversation with me. But have you listened to, I'm putting you out there, have you listened to any of the podcasts? Just one.
Yeah. One.
Okay. I was trying to help you out.
Not because I had wanted to.
Yeah.
I just had made,
Yeah.
It's just one of those things. My downtime
Family.
typically is,
Yeah.
trying to devote to the family. So,
well,
I'll make more time for you.
I appreciate that. No, and the only reason I asked is because I was trying to see if you know what you was getting yourself into, man. Like I always tell the folks who I bring on, like, whatever we say and do here, that's exactly what makes it out to the podcast. So I'm appreciative to my audience who comes back week after week to listen to these conversations, because they know it's transparent conversations. It's just vulnerability, man. And at the end of the day, our goal is to like elevate fatherhood. And the reason I asked that too is because you said you was a little nervous.
As a photographer, we're comfortable behind the camera, not in front.
And behind the scenes, period.
Behind the scenes, period. So, I'm one of those, I'm a fly on the wall type individual. I'm there observing more so than trying to be in the mix of everything. So.
Okay. Well, for those of you all who are watching us on YouTube or wherever this video is available, you can see that we're not in our usual location. We're actually in Rollin's business. I call you Rollin for the record. First name Emanuel, last name Roland. But when I met you, I was introduced to you as Rollin, and so it's been rolling ever since. But how about you give us a little background about who you are, what you do, and exactly where we are?
So, as you mentioned, I go by Rollin. Rollin's Photography is a company, so Rollin is kind of my brand. You are actually sitting in the Rollin experience. So this is my mobile photography unit, one of maybe 4 or 5 in the country. The only one in Tennessee. It was something that I concepted dang near 20 years ago, and finally had the means, had the clientele to make it a reality. So it's actually a 36-foot long motorhome converted into a mobile studio. So it encompasses a full studio space for primarily individual portraits and headshots. Encompasses a lounge space or an area for people to kind of sit and hang out.
That's where we are right now.
That's where we are now.
Yeah.
I've got refrigerator, microwave, bathroom,
electricity that works. I got my light plugged up right now.
Yeah, so it's got its own generator. So basically, I pull to a location, 10 minutes set up, kind of able to do everything I need to do.
Man, I just feel like that you really need to pay me for that advertisement. That you, I mean, 'cause
Hey,
no,
I'll throw you a little something.
yeah, no. Your presence is more than enough at this point, man. But that's cool. I appreciate that. I remember when you told me about this idea, and just to see it come to pass. I remember the first time you pulled the bus up. The Rollin experience up to my last gig, and I came on here and saw the workings of the vision, man. I mean, but how's the business going like ever since? Because you've moved from like a brick and mortar type location to a mobile service. I mean, how's everything going from the transition?
I mean, honestly, I feel like I hadn't missed a beat.
Yep.
I mean, it's actually, giving me more freedom to be able to actually reach new clients. With the primary work that we're focusing on now is kind of more on the corporate, larger company scale in terms of those who have needs for headshots and things of that nature on a consistent basis.
Yeah.
Or it might be just an organization updating their website, or with board members, employees, things of that nature. So it gives us the flexibility where a company may be in town, or have individuals coming in town and they're set up at a hotel. They've rented a space for their meeting, but not necessarily for headshots. So we've had the convenience of just pulling in the parking lot, setting up. Individuals come out and get their headshots done, and for me it saves me time of having to actually set up equipment, because everything's already set up here in the mobile unit. So I pull up, turn the generator on,
Ready to go.
turn the lights on, and we're ready to go. So I mean, it's something I wish I may have done years ago, but I honestly realized that it wasn't until now that I actually had the clientele base as well as the resources and finances to really make it what it is today.
Yeah, what's interesting is you talk about the high level perspective of it from the clientele and the resources, but I'm interested in hearing a little bit about like do your motivational factors change after you have a vision for like 20 years and then boom, like in addition to the clientele, in addition to the resources, like do new motivating factors like push you toward that, or is the motivation still rooted in what it was 20 years ago when you had the vision?
I mean, I think for me it's kind of just been consistent. I mean, my total vision has been that I wanted that freedom of kind of setting my own pace of things. I didn't, again, with this piece now, I don't have overhead, major overhead costs of renting a space, or even having to, even if I had, my own space that I was paying a mortgage on or something like that, this is paid for. So my only
just
major
got to change the tires and the oil.
Change the oil, change the tires, which I haven't had to do that, since I bought it. Yeah. But I mean, just the maintenance of it. Outside of that, I mean, there's no real major expense to it. So it's mine, and again, it sets me apart from every other photographer in Nashville, because nobody else has one.
Or in the state of Tennessee.
Yeah.
In the state of Tennessee. Well, let's get to what I know we're here to talk about, which is fatherhood. But I'm glad that you got to expand on the business, because I know that fathers, man, are not just one dimensional, and that's a big part of like why I like to have these type of conversations, to show balances that can be struck by being this and by doing that, and still being a father. And I, just because I know you, I know that fatherhood is something, and parenthood in general is something that you take real personally. So kind of want to get into it, man. Tell us a little bit about the family dynamic, how many kids you have. I'm acting like I don't know anything. So
so I'm a married father.
Yep.
Have two kids, one 7, one 12. Boy and a girl. Daughter is the oldest at 12. Son is 7. both, actively involved in their various activities. Daughter does, dance at school, dance at church. She's a Girl Scout. And then my son, he's, a true boy, and that he likes his sports. So we're doing flag football, basketball, baseball. He does taekwondo. So, it's fun to kind of just see their, personalities come to light, and just, being there to be supportive of that. And so that's one of my biggest focuses, even with my business, is trying to make sure my schedule is flexible enough that, if they have an activity at school or wherever it may be, that I can, be there 90% of the time.
You pulling up in the bus?
I have picked them up several times in the bus. Of course they like it, but
Well, man, tell me this, because so your daughter's the oldest. She's 12. Your son is 7.
Mm-hmm.
What's that like? That's 5 years.
So it's rough, yeah.
That's 5 years. That's a 5-year gap. Like, what was that like, having another child with that type of distance? And this is personally, because my daughter.
For us, it was intentional.
Yeah.
I mean, that was kind of our, consideration of, okay, you think about, kids transiting, and their school transition, as well as them going off to college and things. So we wanted to make sure we had some gap in there, to make sure that we can cover that successfully. And even in the process of having our first child, daughter, for us it was a 5-year plan of, okay, we got married, we're gonna wait 5 years before we have a child.
That was intentional on the front end.
Yep. Our daughter was born a month after our 5th anniversary.
Wow. So that's strategy.
Yeah.
Is that strategy that is led by you, led by your wife, or mutually agreed upon? It's clearly mutually.
It was mutually agreed upon. I mean, that's one of the things.
Who leads that strategy? I'm asking for a reason.
I mean, I'm not gonna say I do.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think for us, our bond or relationship has always been one of that. We kind of always been on the same page of a lot of things, from the parenting to, how we wanted to, raise our kids, and, how we wanted to live our lives together. I mean, I don't think enough couples really have that, real communication, which, I mean, of course, we have our communication issues, and may not always be on the same page of everything, but when it came to our family dynamics, we were kind of clear on what we wanted out of it.
See, the reason I asked is because, so after Journey was born, I realized that my wife, more so than I did, kind of set the pace as to like what the next steps were.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized that because it was her body, that I had to yield to that. Now it doesn't mean that I'm not now in agreement,
right?
But I didn't have like these strategic thoughts around what's next, like another child or when we have our first. And so, my wife, she started grad school, started a graduate program, and wanted to give her body time to recover and this and that. And so it was at that moment that, she put a timeline, a perspective out there, and I'm like, hold on, why do we have to think this hard? Like, shouldn't we just do and then just have another baby? Like, we should have like a baby, then another baby, and just be done.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not that I wanted so many babies. It's just that I wasn't thinking like logistically. It's like, no, this is how you build a family, right? But I'm appreciative that my wife had the fortitude and the vision to even like think about life structure and life dynamic, because children are expensive.
Right.
They require a lot of your time. For some of them, all of your time. And when you have the opportunity, I realize when you have the opportunity to think through something and to set yourself up and your child up for success, then why not do it?
Right.
And so And I was also asking that question because like, do you feel like your kids are still able to grow up together with like that 5-year difference?
Yeah, I mean, me and my sister were 4 years apart.
Okay.
And I think my wife and her brother they might be about the same in terms of age. Well, let's see. Yeah, well, I think they're maybe like 3 years apart. But I mean, so both of us have, one sibling. So it was kind of, for us, it makes sense.
Yeah.
For us, I mean, we were like, we don't necessarily want a slew of kids. 2 is, boy and a girl. Done.
Yeah.
That's it. I mean, but I mean, even the relationship I have with my sister was still very good. I mean, and I think it, especially having the daughter being the older helps us in terms of, keeping him in line in some aspects. So, I don't see.
Yeah, tell me about that. Like, what do you mean in some aspects? Because my daughter's the oldest. I don't have another child right now, but, we plan on it. Assuming, whether we have a girl or a boy next go round, I'm trying to gain some perspective on that. So what you mean keeping him?
Well, I mean, girls tend to be, a little more responsible in terms of different things. So, I mean, there's been times where we've been able to, lead a house for an hour or so with them together. And she kind of, keeps things in order.
So she follows directions.
She follows directions. The son, he's all over the place.
Yeah.
She follows direction. We did break down last year, got her a phone, so she has a phone. She knows how to, communicate with us.
Why did you call it a breakdown?
I mean,
us
growing up as kids, or even our initial thoughts of her having a phone was like, she ain't getting no phone no time soon. But as she got more involved in her various activities, started, going more places where we weren't always there to with her, or other people were, transporting her and stuff. We wanted to be able for her to be able to communicate with us if she, felt scared or anything like that, or a situation came up. So we kind of, so we did kind of, hear to that, look, okay, we're going to have to break down and go ahead and get the phone. I mean, it just made more practical sense where, I mean, us growing up as kids, we didn't have no phones. We didn't have no pagers. We didn't have no.
I did.
Well, I forgot. Yeah,
I know you think we the same age.
Yeah, my bad. We about 10-year difference.
Yeah, speaking of, happy birthday to you.
Thank you.
Your birthday this month. I mean, the other day. I don't know when this podcast coming out, but you celebrated a birthday yesterday.
Yes.
Yeah, sweet deal. Happy birthday to you.
Turned 43.
43. You making it look easy.
Oh, well.
Yeah, you got about 15 years on me.
Okay. That's right. You ain't that young. But don't even go there. But
no, you got me by 10.
Yeah.
Straight up 10.
So, I mean, and so that for us, I mean, so looking at where you are and us, like I said, I was 25, 26 when we got married. And so being a little, older in the terms of having a kid was, I guess, prompted us to move. I mean, still at the end of the day, we wanted to go on our pace. It didn't really matter. Regardless of how other people were doing it. We've got friends who their kids are in college already.
Yep.
I mean, granted that worked for them. That wasn't what we wanted. I mean, we felt like if we had kids when we just right off the bat, then we would have been struggling a little bit more in terms of the whole, maintenance of, keeping kids in, daycare and things of that nature, where we, like I said again, plan the process so we could plan our finances too, to make sure that we could cover everything. So basically once, one kid got out of daycare, then the other one was in daycare.
Yep.
So, you're not having to double up where, you having kids back to back to back. Man, that's expensive. You paying a mortgage almost for daycare.
Well, you paying a mortgage for daycare with one.
Yeah, I mean.
So you paying? It's literally like 2 mortgages, and that's a good deal.
Yeah.
So, and I know several folks, man, that got, they getting hit real hard right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to say because of lack of strategy, because, maybe everybody's not thinking that having kids should take strategy or whatever, but I do think that, man, you plan properly for the success that you want to see. And a lot of times, I'm sitting here with an entrepreneur, with a business owner, we talk about strategy a lot, and we know how strategy can implement or can impact our businesses. But knowing what I know now, I see how strategy can impact your family as well. Because had my family just moved at the pace that I was thinking, without literally thinking through and writing a plan and making it plain, man, it would be hard. And we spent, to save money, my daughter spent her first 2 years at home with my wife, with no paid childcare, and we hadn't paid for a babysitter yet. And we're blessed to have grandparents that have, that watch her when we need date night. And if y'all follow me on Instagram, y'all know we take plenty of date nights. And so, but we're thankful to have grandparents in close proximity to do that. And we've made some transitions, in our careers, that I'm like, man, if we had another child right now, man, it's like another child is like another car note plus rent in Nashville.
Right.
Which rent in Nashville is more than a mortgage in Nashville.
And I mean, things you have to consider too is, medical bills,
yep. Insurance,
things, and those were some of the issues that we had to balance out, because me as an entrepreneur, I don't have a company paying for my insurance, so my wife had to kind of cover the insurance. But there was this period after my daughter was born where my wife had changed jobs. Insurance wasn't that great, so I ended up doing a side job working at UPS, which allowed us to have the better benefits, and then but then she got another job that had better benefits, which allowed me to quit UPS and do this full time. So I mean, it was all us communicating and thinking through, okay, what's gonna work in our favor. Otherwise, again, we would have to lend to more assistance on other things or cut back on some stuff. I mean, and we didn't necessarily want to have to do that. So, again, that's where that communication, our communication and kind of planning, and and granted, I'm not sitting out here saying that our communication has been perfect across the board with everything, but these decisions about how we were going to have kids and where they're going to go to daycare, and that was something that we definitely made a point to discuss and figure out.
I mean, that's something I've always appreciated about you, in terms of what I know and our interactions. It could be a front, but but I've known you to be really thoughtful, and I want to say calculated, but calculated just sounds so just non-appealing to me right now. It's just like, it sounds like you should be in a white lab coat or something. But I'll just say thoughtful, and I've seen you be thoughtful in your business, and I know how thoughtful you are as a husband and as a father as well, man. I'm gonna pivot a little bit, because as I'm sitting here and I'm realizing I'm starting to talk about my family a little bit, and I got a question for you. I'm putting you on the spot because you're a photographer, and well, y'all don't know, so I'll tell y'all that he was actually the photographer at my wedding. And I remember, I'm about to blow up his whole spot.
I'll see.
I remember when you were done taking pictures that day, you looked me straight in my eye. He said, "Man, it's the most beautiful wedding." He said, "It's the most beautiful wedding." No, but
I mean,
take us back to that day.
Yeah, I mean, of the weddings that I do a lot of weddings, and I don't always really see the love carried through the wedding, or that genuine bond or love from every couple.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not to say it's not there, but for you guys, I could just sense that you guys were meant to be together, that you genuinely had become friends, and that you were truly enjoying the day, that you were enjoying each other, that you guys, that day for you guys was meaningful. I mean, and I don't always see that. I mean, you could just see, that, as they say, that little twinkle in your eye, that spark, that, again, that you were really doing that for you guys. And it wasn't a front. It wasn't, I mean, it just came off just naturally. I mean, and that's for, as a photographer, what draws me to wanting to shoot a wedding for a couple, when I can really see that love and passion for one another. Because, I mean, we've, having done, I mean, hundreds of weddings, I've seen couples, get married, months later, they're already talking about divorce, or they're getting a divorce. Where I, if I'm going to be a part of it now, I want to be a part of one that's going to last. And that, I can pull those pictures out and be like,
remember when.
And, love the pictures that I took, and be able to show other people, hey, this is a great wedding. This is a wedding I did, where now I have pictures of couples where I took some great photos, but they're not even married anymore. So it's like,
pull them down from the website.
Right, you got to pull them down from the website.
Take them off the advertisement.
Right, so no, but yeah, I mean, I don't see enough of that these days, where couples are really, doing the wedding for the right reasons, per se. It just seems like it's more of a show. I don't feel like you guys just did everything over the top just for a show from everybody. You did it because that's what you wanted, and it turned out beautifully. So
man, I'm gonna be quite honest with you, man, that was like the best day of my life. And those pictures, I'm so glad we I knew other photographers, but I was hell bent on making sure you were our photographer, man, because I was like, I know he gets it. I know he gets it. I know he can capture it. And literally, I mean, we pull out our photo book. We try to make it special, so we try to just pull it out once a year, so it can, because it still has the same. It doesn't sit on a coffee table. Okay. We got a toddler,
right?
Because the moment she touches those pictures, it's gonna be a wrap. But yeah, man, that is really special. That day was really, really special. You got me going back. It was, man, and I'm so glad. I really do think that you captured the essence of who we were, who we are, and just the essence of that entire day. You got me thinking, Therese, you better be watching this and listening to this podcast. Yeah. So, I've had side note, I've had 3 like best days of my life, and technically 3 of them were like, and all 3 of them were with her.
Well, hey,
I'm gonna tell her real quick. Surprise birthday party when I got back from Africa, our wedding day, and then the day our daughter was born. And I'm like, dang, my parents, y'all failed me. I'm joking. Mom, Dad, I had some good days with y'all too, man. No, that's good. That's good. Well, I'm always appreciative of these type of moments, man, and for somebody to come on and just share the essence of who they are. I do want to ask you, what's like the most meaningful thing to you about being a father? Because you've made a lot of sacrifices to put your stake in the ground for fatherhood.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the best feeling, is every day just seeing the smiles on my kids' faces. So, of course, I can't always do everything, for them, or buy them everything they want, or do everything. But I mean, my goal as a father is to make them have a be able to enjoy life.
Yeah.
I mean, of course they're in school, and we want them to do well in school. Want them to do well in their activities, and enjoy every aspect of the things that they get to do. So we do our best to encourage them to do well in school, which granted, thankfully both of them are doing well academically in school. Son, we got some behavior, which, I mean, most boys, and I think more of it is just because he is, doing well in school. He gets bored, on occasion. So he, it's just wanting to get up and kind of do things, which, becomes a distraction in school. But I mean, he is bright enough and smart enough, not to, be a bully of any sort or anything like that. So, thankful for that. Daughter, doing well academically, and she's pushing herself. She's like, Daddy, I want to get straight A's. I'm like, okay,
let's go.
If that's what you want to do, hey, we're going to support you in that, but we're not, forcing you to have to feel like you have to make straight A's.
Yeah.
Now I don't want those, necessarily, C's, D's, and F's, but I mean, A's and B's are good with us.
Yeah.
I mean, as long as you're enjoying it, granted. And then with her other activities, I'm like, you're doing, a lot, but yet, hey, if you want to do this, we there to support you. So, I mean, again, going back to, what I enjoy about fatherhood is just, being involved, being there, seeing, like I said, seeing their, seeing their growth, seeing their, smiles, seeing them, being successful, and knowing that, I had a hand in that, but yet and still they're doing it on their own as well. So that makes us feel good that we've done our part as parents to, bring them up to whereas they are able to, do things, on their own, but yet and still, they're good citizens in the fact that, people, are always commending us on how well behaved our kids are, and, how they're doing well in the things that they're involved in, without us necessarily having to be super strict.
Yeah.
And so, we've definitely have our times where we have to be, strong, disciplined parents, but yet and still we've looked at more of a parenting style of, spanking the kids, has its place, but also talking with your kids has its place as well. I think that they have
Hold that thought right there. Hold that thought, because I want to tap into something before we wrap it up. I want to tap into something around this whole spanking piece. All right, you said a lot right there, man, and I appreciate it. And I need to pose this question for me and for other dads like myself that have daughters, and that whole spanking piece. I hadn't given a lot of thought to it, but we don't spank our daughter right now. She's almost 3. And we've used, the authoritative voice to like reprimand her and things like that. But, even the words say, spare the rod and spoil the child. And so, well, the question is, have you spanked your daughter before? Give me the quick response.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean,
now the follow-up question is, how, for me, is like, can you get past that? I mean, because I grew up getting spankings. Like,
yeah.
I'm being cute calling them spankings. I grew up getting whipped. But I'm trying to wrap my mind around it. Like, man, do I have what it takes to, like, can I still spank my daughter? And I know a lot of dads think about that.
Through this whole process, looking at and thinking about back to my childhood of getting spankings and things of that nature. How effective was it? Because my parents spanked me, it hurt. Then I was back to doing the same things.
Yep.
So, how effective is it? How do they respond to it? Where actually, like with our son, what really gets him more is, our showing of disappointment in him seems to hit him harder. Like I said, get that, not even having to get the authoritative voice, but just telling how disappointed we are in him and how what he did was wrong and things of that nature. He'll start just bawling, crying. You can sense that it's affecting him. I'm like, okay, so that has since seems to sort of starting to work more from him. Now that he's has his tablets and games and stuff, like taking that stuff away from him. Where now he just has to sit in his room and read or something like that. It has been more, I think, effective than spanking him, where again he's going to get that little spanking, it's going to hurt for a little while, and then he's like, okay, I'm going to get right back to it. I know as a kid I was kind of that same way. I took it and then it's like, all right, next. I'm good, next.
Give me time to build up my strength for the next one.
Right. So you kind of can prepare for that. So we have and even our kids have good relationship with the grandparents, and actually my wife's mom, the kids love her so much, and we'd be like, okay, we're gonna call Grammy.
Oh man.
You tell them that. Oh yeah, they
it hits them both.
Right, it hits them, because Grammy, she's the one always buying them things and giving them money for certain things that they do well, and we tell her, hey, they acting up. Grammy get on the phone and she has that conversation, and they once again get them teary eyes and get it together. So everybody's gonna be different, but that's what's seeming to work on our side.
Yeah, that's solid, man. I appreciate that perspective, because I know it's not a one-stop shop or one-size-fit-all for raising your kids and for disciplining your kids either. So I'm on a adventure to a quest to gather as many perspectives as I can. I know where I currently stand, but until my daughter shows me that she needs something else, then I think she's going to continue to get the type of disciplinary actions that she currently receives from me, because for the most part it's working. But I know I tell some dads, I'm like, what?
And so what are you doing?
Disappointment, communication. It's always been verbal. Like, I'm really disappointed in you. You were disrespectful, and like really using. And listen, she's about to be 3, but we communicated to her with real words from the time we've started communicating with her. And so real words and real actions and feelings resonate with her. We always say, like, she's really in tune with her feelings, so she'll tell you if she feels sad, if she's upset. She understands what disappointment is. She understands what anger is, what fear is. And so she's in tune in that way, so we use words that speak to the things that she understands.
And I think that's partially, I don't necessarily know if our parents did a lot of that. And I think that's the difference. They just went straight to the spanking. It wasn't really a lot of...
Ain't no time for talking.
Right. Wasn't time for talking.
Yeah.
And so I think now that we are at a point of understanding that works, I think, that has become a better sense of discipline.
Yeah.
It's a new age, as they say.
Yeah. Well, I don't mind being that new age parent. We're gonna do some things a little different, have some different outcomes.
Right. As long as they getting back in line.
Yep.
That's really what matters. And
it may take a little extra effort from us.
Yeah.
But I rather do it, use my mouthpiece, use the right words than I'm exposing myself. Than a whooper, basically. But I'm not opposed to it. She may have to get that hand tapped once or twice, or that leg. I don't know. Like I said, we're gonna cross that path once we get there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right, man. We coming to a close here. If you're watching the video, you notice that I got this scarf dripped over the table. Verbs, that's another shout out to you at Fatherhood Co. If you like what you see here, man, go and check my guy's website out at fatherwellco.com. That's fatherwellco.com, man. And yeah, until I get my own gear, I'm gonna be supporting you. But the moment I get my own merchandise, bro, I'm dropping all of this. So don't ask don't ask me again. No, it's all love, man. Rollin, you know I appreciate your time, man. I appreciate your hospitality, letting us come and have this conversation. I know it's costing you money to even having this running right now, man. So I appreciate it. I do want to ask you real quick, if there was one nugget of advice that you can give for entrepreneur fathers or fathers in business in general, man, like what would that be?
Make your family your biggest priority.
Yeah.
I mean, and so for me, you know, I've set my business hours based around making sure that I can be available for my kids as much as possible. So unlike most photographers who work, you know,
On demand.
Monday through Friday or on demand on the weekends, my typical work week is Monday through Friday, 9 to 4 o'clock. So that allows me to help get the kids to school, help pick up the kids in the afternoon, go to their activities. You know, not to say that every day I can only work or will work 9 to 4. Some days I do have to work, you know, after hours, but, you know, it's typically scheduled. So I know, you know, where my commitments lie. And, you know, if the kids do have activities, you know, I've already, you know, decided to take off that day, or I know, okay, well, I'm not going to be able to make that activity because I've already committed to something. But, you know, 90% of what they got going on, I'm going to be there. And so I've made that a priority. But also, I guess, you know, another nugget is listen to your kids. It was actually my daughter that I overheard having a communication with some of our friends. She was probably about 4 or 5 years old, and she talked about how I worked too much.
Wow. This
was when I wasn't working the 9 to 4 o'clock. This is when I was, like you said, on-demand photographer. If somebody called, wanted something done, I was going to do it because, you know, I needed, or felt like I needed that money. But once I overheard that, I started making it my priority to figure out how I could make that adjustment. Because I think about as a kid growing up, both my parents had to work.
Yeah.
You know, I think about when I was playing sports, you know, especially in high school playing football, how many of my games did my father actually make? Honestly, I couldn't tell you how many he made, you know. And, you know, not that I fault him for not being able to be there, but I wish he could have been there.
Yeah.
You know, I wish he could have been more involved, but he had to work. I mean, that was his responsibility. But as an entrepreneur, we had that ability to make our schedules and make those decisions that are most important. So, yes, am I sacrificing opportunities to make money? Yes, I am. However, I understand where my priority lies, and that's to be involved in my kids' lives. And also, you know, as a child of God, I know that God's got my back. So as long as I'm in line of, you know, what He has put in store for me of having a business as well as having a family, that He's going to make that provision. So as long as I do what I got to do, He's going to work it out. And so that's what I say. I mean, that's, you know, may not work for everybody, but it's working for me.
Yeah, that's solid. Hey, well, you heard it here first. You heard it from the man, the businessman, the entrepreneur, the father, the husband himself, Mr. Emanuel Roland of Rollin's Photography. Did I get all that right?
You got it.
I got it all right. All right, man. Well, it's been a pleasure catching up with you. I appreciate it. I hadn't had a session on here. You've taken some of my best headshots. Side note, even when I used to have hair. You no, okay. But I hadn't had a session on here, man. Maybe we can get something set up. But yeah, guys, you've been listening to Fatherhood is Dope, the podcast. Per usual, I appreciate you all joining us. Of course, I need you to continue to subscribe, download, upload, all the above. Share, like the podcast on Apple, on Google, on Stitcher, on Spotify, and Anchor. I'm giving you a lot of options though, but I do want to shout out my listeners on Apple, man. You all continue to show up on Apple Podcasts where I get the most streams. So shout out to Apple Podcasts, man. I appreciate the love. And of course, I'm asking you all to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Fatherhood is Dope. Like, share the videos, leave comments, ask questions, and I'll be happy to continue to engage with you guys. Until next time, it's been real. Peace.